And of course, my 80s ended intro. It's so ridiculous. But it's great. I mean, I really do enjoy the whole growth process and just putting it out there, willing to stand inside of the embarrassment of an opening, like an introduction, an opening to a conversation. And know that, I'm just standing in the authority of my experiences in life and offering that to you as I do with, others that I've done throughout my life. And how good it feels to know that I can help people see things differently, to potentially give them an opportunity to have a different, a different lease in life. So it's just fascinating, and I get really kind of caught up in, the concept of perfection. Constantly just like, hey, let me produce the absolute best, most professional content that I possibly can. Obviously, if that's what I was up to, by the way, and to the point of action to make it the most professional, I wouldn't produce anything near like I currently do, which is real simplistic. It's set things up and go live, and I take advantage of the time that I have available and do it in my car. So, but the intent of doing it as professional as possible is still there. The key factor of that is as possible. But what is more important is that I just continue to make content, because conversations like these that do make real change take effort and take time and take continuous inspiration. Before you know it, you get so skilled in your own abilities to stay motivated that you no longer really need that stage of motivation, but you do enjoy the other aspects of the insight. But it's a practice. It's an exercise. You get stronger and your body adapts to it, which is really your mind and your psychology adapts to it, to the point of making it natural to you. That's referred to when people talk about scaffolding in psychology for correction of behavior, or changing outcomes to specific behaviors. It's you scaffold it. And what that scaffolding is, for those that aren't aware of it or haven't caught other episodes that I've talked about scaffolding, what it is, and by the way, I'm not a psychologist. That's not my walk in life. I just have a keen ability to understand things, and my areas of interest continue to keep me in a conversation that it resembles psychology. But scaffolding is when you are working with somebody that does not have a particular skill set that's very established, but there's enough interest in them wanting to have it that they're willing to put in the work on their side to make it more successful. Therefore, the mentor in the process puts in the direction, the guidance, or the work on specific areas necessary to have their goals fulfilled. And then after the person gets enough experience of achieving a specific outcome, then you move that into a little bit at a time. You start taking away your effort, but you're having them take that little bit that you're offsetting and give it to them to do. So that starts helping strengthen their skills to become more proficient at it, to the point of being capable of to completing that particular task and or thinking process or whatever it is. Then it gets to that point, and then they add in a little bit more, and before you know it, they're completely removed. The same as a scaffold around a building, it does what it needs until it's no longer needed, and then it stands on its own. The building stands on its own, or whatever was done stands on its own. Statue, whatever it was scaffold. Same thing in psychology. That's why they refer to it as scaffolding. The other interesting thing about it is once you get one particular skill set established, typically you work on a couple at a time, but it depends on the person's, aptitude to focus a lot of times, and the willingness to take on the exercise. Because if they're not willing, then it's a fool's journey. Because you can't do something for somebody more than what they want to do it for themselves and expect a desirable outcome. So with this, what we just did, or what I did in the beginning of this video, is talk about putting these videos out regularly to help increase the motivation to the point that you have proficiency in motivation. You no longer need the video for that. But I'm working on using inspiration and insight to create motivation because of opportunities that you could actually see things a little differently or have a different workability to experiencing life Therefore, you're motivated to try something that seems to create a solution for your current challenges. So that's the intent behind this, is to help scaffold enough to make motivation consistent. Because when you have, keys to a lot of doors that are locked, you don't know necessarily which key fits where, but if you start the process now, you start becoming familiar and you start unlocking these doors. It's the excitement of knowing that you have the keys in your possession. And then the practice comes into play about actually practicing opening doors and making mistakes on what types of keys fit into what doors. And, even if it looks like it's the right key based off other doors' familiarity, that one doesn't work because it's not unique enough to that door's locking mechanism's needs or demands in order to open. Same thing with the practicing of different traits. So before you know it, you've now mastered that room that you were in, and you can unlock every single door. Here's the interesting thing that I've experienced is that gives you access to other doors and other rooms that have a bunch of other doors, which is more trait values that you can continue to develop. So what's fascinating to me about that is that as you go into each one of these new areas of development, and or if you continue to use these rooms that have all these doors in them, as you continue to go into more, you become more and more proficient at where the key ring is and what type of key looks like it fits what kind of lock. And before you know it, all those skills necessary to be successful are now past the concepts of what you knew successful to be, and you're getting into the mastery game. And that's where these types of exercises become significant, and it breaks the veil of what everyone seems to think when they hear hard work will get you there. Work smarter, not harder. No one's really created the connection of work smarter, harder. There's so many things that just, if you break the chain of thinking, it is the habit that hinders your progress. So you can have a habit of progress, but you've mastered the level of effort and the outcomes that are possible at that time. But for your goals will almost certainly need you to be that much better at this mastery that you get into a whole nother concept of mastery. So it just keeps pushing you forward. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's what excites the hell out of me, because I'm constantly putting in significant amount of work. It's not really like that to me, as much as most people I work 40 hours, I'm tired, I need to go drink a beer and sit on the couch. Whatever the I'm not on the clock activities are, that's not how this is for me as an experience. It's more like going to a theme park. More like doing something that does require physical effort, like going to a theme park, you have to walk around, stand in line. Think about all the undesirables about being at a theme park. The things that you feel your body, it's like 4 o'clock, you've been there since opening, and now your back is starting to bother you, low back, things like that. That's the work concepts, but the reasons why you're there and what keeps you there and what keeps you focused away from the discomforts of your body is the rides, whatever the themes are that's drawing your attention, probably the people watching and experiencing other people enjoying being in the theme park. All of that stuff is what it's like for me to do this kind of work. So it's not pure pleasure, although it creates a great degree of pleasure for me, in the sense that I know that I'm improving in life and that I can help others improve in themselves as well. So I do this because I want to give people a real opportunity to develop and grow, but we have to break past these little cliches that lock things in time, because what these things do, these utterances that are, the consistence that we constantly say to ourselves to keep things going or stay motivated or whatever, can become the thing that actually stops you from doing anything, because you expect the outcome of your particular actions to feel something that you've imagined what the other person meant whenever they said it, or what that scene in the movie is supposed to mean versus what it actually means. This goes back to that idea of, or what I've spoke about previously, which is when you've achieved your goals, it's not easy to recognize it. A lot of people, because they get really good at focusing on the skills necessary to achieve their goals, The goal actually fades into the background, but it is a preset, like a thermostat. It's set for a destination in the future. You just don't know when you surpass it. Because when you made the goal, you didn't know what it was like to be there. You just knew that it was something that you wanted to have, and you had a concept of what it was like to be there. Same as being wealthy. People are like, oh, money say it will, fix all my problems. No, most of the time and often money makes things worse. But it's for various reasons. It's not always because other people will take advantage of you. It's also because of what it does to you. How money changes you. How it complicates your relationships because it's doing something in the background you're not aware of. It's doing things to your attitude. It's doing things to the way that you live your life that changes you. Now, it changes your attitude because you can get into the I'm stressed out. Before, when I was broke, I had to worry about being stressed out and how to figure out how to make more money. Now I'm not broke and I'm not worried about making more money. I'm stressed out. Where does the energy that went back into, and I'm broke, where does that energy go when you're back into that model of thinking of being upset? It likely will go to something else on the undesirable spectrum because it's already born in the undesirable spectrum and it's habit formed in that mindset, in the emotional pattern of thinking, so that you're more likely to default to that emotional state. But you don't have I'm broke in its place, so now what other thing could have that experience of chaos? By the way, being broke is an experience of chaos because you have a significant degree of the unknown in front of you, and you have real world consequences attached to that unknown by the lights being turned off, water, being kicked out of the place that you live or that you're renting or you own or whatever. The real world consequences represent chaos, and that's why we want to avoid it as much as possible. Once that's satisfied, that is a chaos emotional pattern. What will you do with a pattern of thinking? Likely find something else that facilitates the return on that chaotic experience because you know how to handle that type of chaos. So, with that, this is why they say money makes, more money makes problems. It's true and insightful enough, but you need to get to the depth of its actual meaning if you want to do anything with it. Because if you don't, the likelihood you're going to do anything at all is going to be likely that you're going to go right back to a pattern that leaves you, a pattern that'll leave you stuck in the past, because emotions create experiences, thinking. You have a thinking model that associates with a specific set of emotions, and that can put you back into the old you, the you that you don't want to be anymore. All right, I'm not going to continue on for now. If anything, leave you with a cliffhanger. What do you do with this information and how do you change things? Well, that's why you continue to stay on this channel and subscribe to the channel and keep yourself motivated and to scaffold up and to make some changes. So, change comes with effort, and strategy is one of the best things you can do when it comes to that. So if you want to learn more about how to strategize these types of behaviors and how to make better changes, subscribe to the channel, like it, share this video with people in your life that you want to start this kind of conversation with, or if it's just somebody that would be interested in listening to something like this. I am not saying I'm the ultimate knowledge bearer, or that everything that I have to say is the ultimate truth. It is the way that I live my life that brings the greatest degree of progress to make the biggest differences and affect people in the most desirable ways that I possibly could generate. So that's what I'm doing this for. I'm not the arbiter of truth. This is my way of expressing things to give you opportunities to work with. So this is a maturity project. I am your host, Chad Ever Broshears, or Sir Chad Ever Broshears to some. And thank you so much for watching the channel and watching the video today. Do comment in the comment section if you got something out of today's video and you'd like to share that. Until next time, remember, we got a world that we want to work on, right? It's I think everybody wants to contribute to the world in some way. Some are very microscopic and would rather that they just exist and then disappear. And then others want to conquer the world with the way they view it to make things the way that they see it outcome. So we have all of that stuff. But just to think of how an immature version of yourself would handle total power. There's a really good chance you'd be a tyrant in history because you wouldn't have the insights and abilities to dynamically see what's necessary for the absolute best outcome. You're going to be looking at just whatever the best outcome is based off the situation you're currently in. Learn these models of thinking when you get to yourself, work on yourself, and then we can work on the world. All right, until next time, because, by the way, when you work on yourself, you are working on the world. Till next time, we'll catch you then, okay? Let's get to it.